Jason McCourty is my guest. Jason, great to have you on. How are you?
I'm doing well. Appreciate you having me.
It's great to have you on. So, big weekend, including some matchups on Thursday and on Saturday both. Let me start off with Week 15 kicking off, Niners, Seahawks. You've got Niners quarterback Brock Purdy, who's played really well for Jimmy Garoppolo since he went down. But there's a lot to like about the Niners, Jason. But when they keep losing guys and guys that matter, even though they've ripped off 6 in a row, at some point do these injuries not all catch up to them?
Yeah, without a doubt. It's tough to keep on keeping on when you keep losing your guys. And obviously Deebo Samuel going down last week. Obviously good news that it's not season ending at ankle and he'll be back at some point. But that depends upon how far they're able to go in the playoffs and all of that. And the one thing you can speak of, the coaching job by Kyle Shanahan and his staff, guys go down, the next person steps in and is playing really well. You look at Brock Purdy, for that matter, the third string quarterback gets in. There's no fear. He's confident. He knows the playbook, and he's going out there and he's making plays. So it'll be a totally different atmosphere than playing at home versus the Buccaneers this past week. He's going to be on the road in Seattle, and I played in that stadium. I remember being on the sideline and trying to talk to my teammates during the game, and you're literally screaming at each other just to be able to hear.
I think you make a great point right there. Now, Brock Purdy, we know that he's not going to be afraid. This guy's not going to back down. It appears that he will go. Big picture, though, and there's so much to like about this guy, man. I love this guy's it, and you know he can make the plays, he can make the throws, but do you think that they can win a Super Bowl with him under center?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think that defense is that talented that they can help lead them there. I can't say right now today, like, yes, Brock Purdy is the quarterback that's going to be hoisting up the Lombardi and get all the way through the playoffs and be able to possibly take down a Philadelphia Eagles team that has been rolling all season long. But I will say they have the makeup team-wise of somebody that can compete and that can get there. Jimmy Garoppolo was a great leader for them, and they were in the Super Bowl a few years ago, and he made all the throws when they needed to, the timely ones, the third downs, and those plays that you need at given moments in the game. Whether Brock Purdy can do that or not, we don't know. We haven't seen him. This is the first time we'll watch him in a road game versus Seattle where they're going to be playing for everything. They're a desperate team right now that have started out playing really well and have seen it kind of fall down these last few weeks. So I think we'll see a lot out of Brock Purdy as this season ends, as the playoffs are rolling around. I think we'll have a better picture of what we think he can possibly do and make a run for them.
I was going to say, excuse me, it's a great point you make, and especially tonight, we'll see how he does on the road in a really hostile environment. Jason McCourty is my guest. Now, you know the Patriots as well as anybody does, and they did what they had to do to get over on the Cardinals, but almost nobody outside that building seems to understand the logic of Matt Patricia and Joe Judge playing such an enormous role in the offense. Does that decision make sense to you?
From being in that building, it makes sense from that perspective. I think Bill Belichick, he's a guy that he looks at his coaches and he wants people around him that know football, that he can trust, and that are just good ball coaches. And I think he looks at Joe Judge and Matt Patricia, two former head coaches in the NFL. These guys are really good football coaches. And I think when you have that basis, Bill looks at it as, hey, if you can teach football, we can put you anywhere. And Matt Patricia, the coordinator, Joe Judge, the quarterback's coach, those guys are working together. And for whatever you want to say, they're figuring it out somehow. They won this past Monday night, beating Arizona, and we keep looking at them week in and week out. Why aren't they throwing the ball down the field? We see Mac Jones' frustration as he's gone to the sideline, and we saw him waving off the play caller this past week and yelling at Tyquan Thornton. But those are all things that happen within the course of a season. When Brady was there for years, and obviously I'm not saying Mac Jones is Tom Brady and he should get the same leeway that he does, but when Brady was there, we watched him blow up on the sideline many a times. We watched him in Tampa this year, slamming the surface. It's an emotional game. It's a passionate game, and that's all a part of it. So I think from being in that building and understanding a little bit of how they operate and how Bill does things, having two coaches that he trusts, that he knows are really good football coaches, and having them a part of the staff makes sense. We can talk about the lack of offense experience and all of that draws a ton of question marks. But here they are as the season is rounding out, and they're in a position to try to make a run as they're lurking in that playoff spot.
So, just as a quick follow, why do you think that they don't take more shots downfield? I mean, do you think Mac is regressing under Matt Patricia? Do they not have enough weapons? Do they not trust Mac? Why won't they take more shots downfield?
I'm not going to say he's regressing because I do think something that we talk about with young quarterbacks in the league each and every year, when you see guys go to situations, Daniel Jones, a Tua Tagovailoa, guys that go in and you keep switching and you have different coordinators with different mindsets and different plays, it takes time to learn that and adjust. And I think for Mac Jones, you come in, you have a guy like Josh McDaniels who's been coaching offense for so many years, was a head coach in Denver, now took the head coaching job in Las Vegas. He comes in and he puts you at a baseline and a standard of what you may think the NFL and an offense is supposed to run. And now you have two guys come in, a Judge and Patricia, who may have a totally different way of doing things. Patricia obviously was a defensive coordinator in New England. Joe Judge was a special teams coordinator before he moved to offense. So their background and their baseline and the way they do things could be drastically different from Josh McDaniels. So I do think it takes time. I'm not going to call it a regression, but it's almost like a restart and a reset for him to have to learn that and be able to turn it into something. So it's hard to finger point, all right, why aren't they throwing the ball downfield? We know they're a team that wants to be able to run the ball and move the chains. But we saw this past Monday night, though. There were two deep shots down the field to Hunter Henry, one down the right sideline, one over the middle, that helped them put two scoring drives together where they scored touchdowns to end it. So maybe that was a glimpse of what's to come as far as getting the ball down the field a little bit more.
Jason McCourty joining us. I'm glad you mentioned Tua. I wanted to ask you about Miami and Buffalo. A tremendous throwdown Saturday night in frigid Buffalo. I can't lie, I was riding hard with the Dolphins until they got worked a couple of times out here in Cali, and now they have to deal with the elements in Buffalo. Are you still buying Miami, or have teams made the adjustment to Tua and that high-powered offense?
Teams have definitely made the adjustment. I'm all in on Miami. I was there last year. I'm a big believer in those guys. I'm a big believer in Tua Tagovailoa, but it's going to take adjustments. Mike McDaniel is a good coach. He's a good coordinator, and he knows how to call plays. And obviously, these past 2 weeks weren't pretty for them going against the San Francisco defense that their front four, the way they get after the quarterback, and they just do what they do. D'Amico Ryans has them flying around. They play more of a zone scheme, and they attack with Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. They have guys that can get it done at each and every level. I think what the Chargers were able to do on Sunday night was even more impressive because you go into that game and you're like, well, the Chargers have struggled defensively all season. This is going to be the one where Miami can get back on track. And they came in with a game plan, not allowing those inside throws, getting up in the receivers' faces and being physical with them. I think that's going to be the big adjustment for McDaniel and for Tua Tagovailoa to come in this week and say, hey, if they take these things away, this is going to be our answer. If they allow us to do it, so be it. We'll do it all night long. But it's going to be a fun one to watch, especially we've all talked about the weather all week long and how Tua hasn't played well in cold temperatures and all of that. I think he's going to be ready to go, and I think it's going to be a fun one because Josh Allen and Buffalo haven't just been rolling on offense right now. I think they have a lot to prove too, and they're playing for that number one seed in the AFC, which can have so many implications as we go down and we're in the playoffs, especially with a team like Kansas City and Cincinnati that are probably going to be in the playoffs as well.